What's going on, everybody? Cheers. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to this week's episode of the With Her Two Hands podcast. I am your host, Bogi, and this is the weekly show, live stream, podcast, whatever you want to call it, where we celebrate the women who build, fix, and make the things that make the world go round. Thank you so much for joining us and tuning in, spending part of your evening with us. We've got a really awesome guest tonight. I am very excited. Episode 180, and it's very appropriate. We have an 18-year-old who is our guest for this week's episode. She is a custom painter. She started her own business immediately after graduating from high school, which is just insane to me. So ballsy. I'm so excited to hear about that whole process. But first, I want to thank you guys for being a part of this revolution, whatever we want to call this movement, this podcast. What this is all about is about normalizing women in the trades. It's normalizing seeing women in the workforce doing these jobs that are traditionally thought of as male dominated, that women are by far the minority in. Although our numbers are growing rapidly, we still make up less than 2% of most of the industrial trades. So we've got a long way to go, but you guys are all a part of helping change that and help normalize it and make it a more comfortable place for women to be able to thrive. So thank you for being along on the journey. All your comments, all your likes, all your shares, all of those help more people see these incredible stories, meet these incredible women, and hopefully next time they're out in the world and they see a female construction worker or a female plumber or a female auto mechanic, it doesn't faze them at all, and they see it as totally normal because of meeting these amazing women here on the With Her Two Hands podcast. So thank you guys. And a huge thank you to our sponsor for tonight's episode, DriveTime. If you're not familiar with them, definitely want to go check them out. They are a used car seller, but they also rehabilitate all of those used cars in-house. They have a huge number of crew around the country at different facilities. So they do a lot of training within their organization. They do a lot of work to kind of help people find their home within the automotive industry. They're a really cool company with great corporate culture. So if you're looking for a new car or if you're looking for a new job, you definitely want to go check them out. The link is in my bio. And they do a ton of work behind the scenes to help support women in the trades. And we're all about supporting businesses that support women in the trades. So with that, I'm going to stop blabbing because it is time to bring on tonight's guest, Miss Keaton Lee. Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am fantastic, and I am so excited. So very excited. So, you are 18, huh?
Yes.
I first of all have to say, I am so in awe. When I was 18, I had a hint of an idea of what I wanted to do, and I was a relatively headstrong little girl at 18. But I can't imagine being yeah, I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna start my own business. I'm going for it. How the heck did this happen? Tell me a story.
Well, I was originally going to this trades class in high school, so my junior and senior year, you can pick. There's a bunch of different classes, but I ended up choosing the automotive refinishing class.
Okay.
And I never really thought of having a career in it. I just thought it'd be kind of cool to paint stuff, and then I started liking it a lot. And then my teacher introduced me to custom paint. We do a custom paint week, and you get to paint a fender however you want. And I did these lace flames over this marbled candy blended fender, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And then after that, I just started Googling everything and following people on Instagram. I was like, dang, this stuff is cool. And then I just kind of kept doing it. And then I was also painting for a shop outside of school, just doing scuff and shoots and body work and all kinds of things. So I kind of got all the basics done before I actually full and went and did it by myself. But I did I've gone to 2 custom paint classes now, but it's by some people that I follow on Instagram, and you fly out and go to their shop for a weekend, and it's good for marketing and stuff like that. But yeah, and then I was just like, what if I started a business? And I started playing around with names, and then I came up with Crazy K Customs, and I came up with a logo, and then my parents helped me get a business license, and then
Amazing.
I was all set up right when I graduated. But I was 17 at the time, and so I actually couldn't get I couldn't get a bank account set up for it yet because you had to be 18.
Oh,
So
wow.
wait till I turned 18 to actually start putting money through my business.
Oh my gosh. So were your parents supportive of this the whole time? Like, were they just from the get-go, like, absolutely, we'll support you, whatever?
Yeah, they're super, super supportive. I definitely could not have done this without them.
That's phenomenal. Yeah. So, like, on both counts, right? That they're supportive of you pursuing this kind of work, but also that they were
Yeah,
totally supportive of you just going straight for opening a business at such a
yeah,
young age. That's awesome.
yeah. It's definitely, there was a lot of talk about it, but I mean, there was like, we talked about it a lot, and there's really no better time than to start when I have like absolutely no overhead. Like, I still live with them, obviously, but like I don't have rent right now. Like, so I'm pretty
Yeah.
much just living all right. So I was able to start it and not have to worry about a bunch of other expenses and being out of work and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
No, that's smart. I mean, I think a lot of people would look at that and think, wow, that's like really risky to go in so early and to not have had a lot of work experience beforehand. But on the other side, like you're absolutely right. I think that's like you're in the age where it's okay to explore stuff. And if it works, amazing. And if it doesn't work, it's
Yeah,
not the end of the world, right? Like this is the time to do that.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was definitely worried about it at first, thinking that customers would see me as being a young 18-year-old girl, and I was kind of worried that I was going to get turned away more, but honestly, there's been so many people that just want to support, and they're just like, it's so cool what you're doing, and we want to support you. And
That's
like,
awesome.
when I got my shop all set up, I got an air compressor, and I needed to get like the airlines ran through the shop. And so I went down to our local compressor guy and went in there, and he ended up being such a cool dude. He came by and got it all set up, and then helped me put it all together and get
Oh,
it all
nice.
connected. And then I was like, I'll swing by the shop tomorrow or whatever. Just let me know how much I owe you. And he's like, oh, you're not paying me anything. I was like, what? He's like, yeah. And
Aw.
so he came and did like, and the material alone, that stuff's like, it's the aluminum like air piping. It's super
Yeah, that
expensive.
stuff is expensive, but amazing.
Yeah, and he came and he just gave it all to me, and I was like, thank you so much. But it was awesome.
That's phenomenal. Very cool. So you found people to be really just supportive of you and the business overall. Have
Yeah.
you had any issues with customers like not knowing that you were so young and then meeting you and being like, "Oh, wait, hang on a second."
No, I haven't yet, surprisingly.
Awesome.
But a lot of people, like, my Instagram has been growing a lot, so people are starting to see me more and like realize like who I am, and like I'm a young girl, and so
Yeah.
yeah.
I love it. So what compelled you to take this particular class in high school? I'm going to go back in time a little bit when you were just kind of in high school doing your high school thing and you're like, "Sure, that sounds fun." Why that particular class?
Well, I was living on the west side of Washington. Well, I actually grew up there, and then we moved over here midway through my junior year. But my sophomore year is when you decide like what classes you want to take next year. And I was like, oh, I really want to go to the skills center because I mean, you go there for half the day, and then you only have like 3 classes at the high school. And then I was gonna do like welding or diesel, but those classes always fill up so fast.
Interesting.
And then I saw that there was a paint one, and I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool. So like, I have no painting background. Like, my parents aren't in it at all. Like, it was just kind of random, and just
Yeah.
jumping into that kind of put me to where I am. But we moved my midway through my junior year of high school. It sucked, but
Yeah,
um,
I can imagine.
I there ended up being another skills facility in Idaho where we moved to, and I was able to get added into that class, and normally they don't take more people, but my teacher like accepted me, and then just kind of from there it went on. So
That's awesome. I've got to ask because you said that those classes fill up really fast and they were harder to get into. When I was your age and in high school, like nobody was taking those classes. It was totally looked down upon. Nobody was in them. Nobody was excited about them. Do you feel like that has changed? Like, are your peers more excited about and open to doing the trades?
I don't honestly, I don't really think so. I was definitely probably one of the only kids that really took it seriously.
Mm,
I think a lot of people just saw it as like a getaway from not having to be at the high school all day. Because definitely in my class, like kids were just goofing off the whole time, and
yeah.
I was probably the only one who was dedicated and is actually now in it in my class.
Interesting.
So, and we had about, I want to say 15 kids, but there was an AM and a PM class.
Okay.
So,
Interesting. So out of the 15 kids in your class and then the other 15, you're the only one still in it. We've got your grandma and aunt are watching. I love that. I love how supportive your family is. It's so amazing.
yeah.
It is the oddity in this world. Like I hope you know and appreciate them all tremendously because there's far too many women who have not supportive families. So
Yes, for sure.
yeah. Um, so that totally distracted me. Um, so, eh, I appreciate your honesty with the fact that like a lot of kids are just not taking it seriously. It,
Yeah.
it's interesting. That's a shame. I was hopeful. Maybe.
Yeah, it was very surprising. I think there was a lot of kids that really didn't take it seriously at all. Like
Yeah.
I would get to school and they'd be like messing around the whole time, and then I would start bringing like jobs to school and like making money while I was at school because they have a really nice like 3 paint booths. So
Nice.
I was
Yeah.
like just using them, and then I actually did all the body work on my last 2 trucks, but my
Nice.
first high school truck I painted, and that was the first full vehicle I ever did. So that was pretty cool. But I ended up selling that, and I got something else. And then I did all the body work on it outside of school. And then I was able, like, the teachers really liked me because they just knew I was dedicated and I was serious. And so they let me bring my truck in and paint it in their paint booth over the weekend one time. So that was
That's
super
awesome.
cool.
I feel like that's a really important like point for people to hear, especially any other young people who might be watching or listening to this, right? Is that like if you put as much as you put in is what you get out, right? So there
Mm-hmm.
were kids in your program who I'm sure were like not getting any of those perks. They weren't allowed to bring their
Yeah.
vehicles in. They weren't allowed to do
Yeah.
kind of those side
People would
opportunities.
they would complain about that. Like there was some boys in my class that like they were my friends, but like I hung out with them, but they would always just be like, "Oh, you're getting special treatment because you're a girl," or blah blah blah. And I'm like, "You guys, I literally work circles around both of you, and you're over here complaining why I get to bring my stuff in. Maybe you should quit like messing around all day." But they
Yeah.
would just like joke around all the time and say it's just because I'm a girl, and it's like,
Yeah, because it's easier to blame it on that than to take
mm,
responsibility. They're not
yeah.
putting in what it takes. But when you do
Mm-hmm.
put in that effort, you reap the rewards and you get all of this opportunity that now you're 18 and you're able to confidently say, like, I've already done all of these things and I feel
Yeah.
comfortable going into business for myself. Were you always artistic? Because your art, like your work is, you're not just doing collision paint work. You are like doing art on these vehicles and motorcycles.
I've always been very entrepreneurial. Like
Okay.
growing up, I sewed blankets for a while and like
Okay.
sold them to all my parents' friends for like $65 a piece. And so I would just like
Okay.
be in my basement on the floor like sewing blankets, and then I used to like make jewelry and sell it when I was younger.
Okay.
I mean, I would draw here and there. I've never been real good drawer though.
But you're always making stuff, it sounds like.
Yeah, I was always
Creating.
doing something.
Yeah. That's fascinating. Do you know
Honestly,
where that came from? Like, did you come out this way?
I have no idea. My aunt actually and my grandma makes these cards and sells them um, at the place that she lives at, and makes these custom cards and stuff. And my aunt has
Okay.
always made jewelry, so I kind of grew up doing that with them.
Okay.
So that might have been part of why I started selling blankets and stuff like that. But
I love it. So you've got some business owners and crafters and makers in your family for sure.
yeah,
And even in the trades.
um, yeah, my brother is.
Okay.
My I grew up around my brother and my dad, and they would always like my brother would work on his trucks and stuff all the time. My dad built this CJ7, and so
Okay.
I kind of grew up around like the automotive industry, but never the paint side or anything like that.
Yeah. Interesting. Do you remember if there was like a point in your schooling or your experience where it clicked for you that this is what you want to do for the rest of your life?
Yeah, I think definitely. It was more in my senior year. Like I started like envisioning it more, and I was like, I've always like dreamed of being a business owner. Like, I mean, you can do whatever you want when you want, you know. And
In theory.
I don't know. Yeah, sorta. Even though I'm at the shop till like 11 o'clock all the time.
Right, exactly.
So.
I was gonna say, how's that working out for you?
Yeah, no, it's pretty much just all my life at this point.
Right.
I have no life outside of work.
I love it. You're always like, when you're a business owner, you can do anything you want whenever you want, as long as whatever you want is to work in your business all the time.
Yeah, definitely.
Gotta love it. So you always wanted to start a business. And then senior year is when you decided that this is the business that you wanted to do.
Yeah, well, I was actually I was going to partner with this guy that I actually met on Facebook Marketplace. So I made ads on there, and I would post like custom paint ads and stuff, and they actually like blew up like crazy for some reason. But this guy reached out to me, and he was like, I have this Suburban. The guy that was gonna paint it like ditched out on me. Like, I'll pay you $2,000 to come spray it. And I was like, all right, like I'm in high school, whatever, $2,000 to spray a car, like, okay. And ended up like meeting him, and he was like, this is so cool what you're doing. Like, I want to partner with you. Like, I think this could be really great. And I was like, yeah. And he was a detailer, and so I did the paint job, did all this, and then we went to this car show that we were supposed to like promote our brand and stuff. And then I kind of started telling him about Crazy K Customs and like showing him my logo. Like, I hadn't like got a business license or anything, but I was like, if we're gonna partner, I want my side to be my side, you know, like I don't want to be underneath you. And he didn't like that idea, and actually ended up kind of screwing me over. And the guy that I painted that Suburban for, he charged that guy like 15 grand for a scuff and shoot paint job, but he told me that it was just like we're scuffing and spraying it. And like he told the guy that I was gonna do all the body work and all this. But me and the owner are totally good, but I'm just glad that I didn't sign any papers or anything. And then after that, I was like, you know what, why don't I just start my own thing? Like, I don't need to be with someone else. Like, yeah, he has a shop space already, but my mom works for this company called Standcraft. I don't know if you ever heard of them, but they build these fancy wooden boats.
Ooh.
And it's a big thing here in Coeur d'Alene. But she was asking around, and some of her coworkers actually found a spot for me and reached out to this company called Steel Structures. And they had this little barn, which is what I work out of right now. It's like,
oh, nice.
It's like 25 by 30. It's pretty small, but it's gotten me going, and they've helped me out and got me a really good deal on it. But yeah, so that's how I found the place that I'm working at now, but just kind of how everything like evolved
Yeah.
into me starting my own thing. And I think I was really pushing to like work with that guy because he already had the space and all this, but once he kind of like ghosted me, I was like, there's
Yeah.
no reason I can't start my own thing. Like, if I need help, like my parents will help me, like. So I had all the support that I needed, and it was just kind of the jump to go ahead and do it.
Yeah. I'm so impressed with your confidence. Have you always been this confident?
I don't know.
Where did it come from? Is it how your parents raised you, or is it
Yeah,
just in your
definitely.
DNA?
Probably. I mean, I grew up with like I got into horses when I was younger, and I've been riding since, and like I did rodeo and stuff like that. So I like to tell people I have two different lifestyles because I've got like cowgirl side on one side, and then like biker painter chick on the other.
I love
But
it.
I mean, my parents definitely raised me to be independent and a very hard worker because we had our horses at our house, and my dad was like, if you're gonna have these horses, you gotta do everything for it. So like I had to help build fences, weed whack the fence line like once a week, and like all this stuff. So it was a
Nice.
lot of work, but it definitely taught me to work for what I want. So
Yeah, that sounds like it. That's really cool to hear. I like it. And I think it's totally okay to have like all of these different lifestyles that you're part of. There's comments. You know Riley's rebuilds, of course. Yes.
yes, I've been
So
texting her.
okay, another young entrepreneur in this world. She's phenomenal, and she commented when you were talking about the blankets, Bogi blankets, because I also make blankets and
Oh
sell
my
them. So
gosh,
I fix cars, I build cars, and I crochet like a lunatic.
that's
So
awesome.
and I always feel the same way. I'm like, I've got the me that is out in the shop, and then I've got the me who's at home crafting, and there's nothing
Crafting,
wrong with
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Nothing wrong with it
that's
at
funny.
all. In fact, maybe one day we'll integrate it all into something. Who knows?
I know, right?
Everybody who gets one of your custom paint jobs also gets a blanket and some
A
jewelry that you made,
sweatshirt,
right?
yeah,
There you go.
jewelry.
Gotta love
That's
it.
funny.
Did you ever hesitate or feel like, gosh, I should get more world experience, life experience before starting a business? Did that factor in? Do you regret it ever?
Definitely like I was kind of nervous at first because I was like starting so young, like you have like if you're gonna do it, like you have to be dedicated to it, and but then there's also the part of me that's like I'd rather like start building this at a young age and like when I'm older be able to do like what I want, like I've never really been interested in like partying or stuff like that. Like I go hang out with people on the weekends sometimes, or my parents have a lake property, so I'll go up there in the summer. But I don't know. I've just always like, yeah, I've been like, kind of sucks, like all this responsibility at such a young age, and all these kids are going and doing whatever. But at the same time, like, I'm gonna be so much farther ahead than I would have been if I waited 2 years or something like that.
Playing the long game. I like it.
Yeah.
Um, you're working alone in the shop though all the time, right?
Yep.
Does that get hard?
Sometimes, definitely. I've actually been trying to listen to more podcasts because, like, or sometimes, like, depending on what I'm doing, like pinstriping or whatever, I'll like set up Netflix and just like stripe my little heart away. But it definitely gets like kind of hard sometimes. But I try to like leave for lunch and like do stuff like that. But I don't really mind it that much because like I can work with other people, but sometimes I'd rather just work alone, listen to whatever music I want.
Okay. And you mentioned going and taking some like master classes and trainings and that kind of stuff. Is that like how do you keep yourself learning more and growing and continuing to hone your craft? I mean, doing it is obviously part of it, but as far as learning
Yeah.
new skills,
I mean, it's definitely something that you can learn like every day, and I just learn something new about every day. So I just try to keep an open mind on like everything. Like there's always new tricks and tips to learn. I mean, I'm still so young, and like if I can hang out with an old dude for a day that's been doing it forever, then like I would definitely take advantage of that because they know so much. But I think just a really big thing too is like as a person, like I just want to stay as humble as possible because I have met some people who are very cocky to say, and like they don't want to help you, like that, like you're just a young kid coming in and taking their work or stuff like that, and that's how they see it, you know. But like when I get that age, if someone's my age now and like, hey, can you help me with this? I would be like, yes, like this is so cool that you're doing that, you know.
Yeah. It's interesting how much of the older generation has that mindset of not wanting to help. I mean, there's definitely those that are very interested in helping, and then there's some older folks who are just not about it.
Yeah, they're like, nope, I'm not sharing my knowledge with you unless you do this or that. It's like,
So how are you doing most of your learning? Is it online? Is it just experimenting? Is it from finding old guys who are willing to teach?
a little bit of everything, honestly. I mean, I definitely got better quicker than I thought I was going to. Like, obviously, I know I'm not the greatest out there. I like, you can look at someone who's been doing it for 20 years and mine, and like, you're gonna see differences. But a lot of it's just been like, kind of once you understand the process, like I look at other people's work and then I'm like, oh, maybe I'll try to incorporate that into mine and see if I can recreate it, and then kind of just grows on from there. So a lot of it's just doing it, you learn more. And I mean, there's not much on YouTube to watch. Like there is some stuff, but I used to watch YouTube videos, but at this point I feel like I'm excelled more than those YouTube videos, so it doesn't help as much now. But
a good starting point for people, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So what kind of work do you do mostly? What kind of projects are you working on? Is it just all over the place, or do you have specific types of projects that you do more of?
I'm actually trying to lean more towards motorcycles.
Ooh, okay.
So it's like motorcycle custom paint is like a big thing, and like it's what a lot of the custom painters that I know do. So I've just been kind of trying to stick to that more. Okay. But I actually did just paint a vintage refrigerator, and I have two. Well, I've painted two of them now, but I have two more to paint. And that actually kind of, that blew up on Instagram. Everybody loved that fridge. One of my videos got like 1.2 million videos on it.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
And I've painted, I just paint random stuff like skateboards and people hanging as wall art or
just anything like, people ask you to paint.
Yeah, pretty much. But definitely trying to advertise more towards motorcycles because I don't really like doing full, complete paint jobs as much. It's just a lot of work for one person, and like most people don't want a custom paint job on their car, you know.
Right.
So
or they want it, they just don't want to pay what it's going to cost.
Exactly. Yeah. So the motorcycles, it's a lot smaller and it's just fun. Like you get to do all these crazy things on it, and you're just gonna have fun with it. And a lot of people just tell you do whatever you want. Like I want these colors though, and so you just kind of have freedom to do whatever you want on it.
That's awesome. Okay, I have to ask, like, talk to me about your creative process, because I've seen anybody who hasn't seen her work, first of all, go check her out. Check out her social media accounts. The links are going to be in the description down below because it's phenomenal work. The first time you popped up in my feed, I was like, what the? And she's how old? Like, I was super impressed. Your work is really good.
Thank you.
But how do you come up with the concepts, and what does your creative process look like? Because your work is so intricate and so multi-dimensional and layered, and like some of the stuff is just so complicated. When someone says, here, free will, I just like these colors, like then how do you go from point A to finished project?
So sometimes I kind of have an idea in my head, like I think it out and I'm like, oh, this would be cool on here. Like, I haven't done this yet. But sometimes I'm like so stuck and like you kind of just have to start taping and like a lot of times I don't really think out what I'm gonna do. I just kind of start
Yeah.
doing it, or I'll look at other people's Instagrams for inspiration. Sometimes, like if I'm really stuck, then I'll kind of search around and find something I kind of like, and then something else I like, and then kind of bring some of their ideas into what I do, and then just kind of turn it into my own art piece, I guess.
And incredible. Spoken like a true artist. Sometimes I don't even know. I just start taping.
Yeah.
It's just like coming out of you and you're just channeling it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. Very, very cool. So motorcycles, do you ride?
I actually did just get a bike.
What did you
So,
get?
it's a 1969 Ironhead chopper.
All right.
So, it's a kickstart, but I actually just did post some videos of that on my Instagram as well. But
Oh my goodness.
my parents are not happy about it at all.
Understandable. My parents were not
But
happy when I got my first bike.
I'm taking the Harley Davidson like riding class this weekend, so
Okay.
just so I can be more comfortable on it and stuff like that, and hopefully make my parents a little more comfortable.
That's a good thing. Definitely want to appease the parents and being safe is a good thing. But I also have to like totally applaud the like, you're a gutsy girl, like a gutsy person. Girl, boy, doesn't matter. You're gutsy. Like this, I'm getting my first bike. I still don't have my bike license, but I'm getting a jump like a kickstart bicycle, like motorcycle. Are you kidding me? Like not the
Yeah.
easiest bike to get.
No, definitely
Not the
not.
great first starter bike, but I love it.
No, not a starter bike, but yeah. I mean, I've ridden it once and I did fine, and I've started it a couple times, but it's gonna
Okay.
take some practicing kicking it over. But
I love it. Good for you. Just jump right in there. That's awesome.
yeah,
And I
it's
assume it's
I
gonna get
just
an awesome paint job.
it already is. I just painted it like a week
Oh,
ago.
nice. I
Yeah.
must have missed those posts. I apologize. Shoot.
Yeah, it's I haven't post well, I did post a video. I haven't posted it really back together yet. But it was in one of the pictures I sent you and I was
Okay.
like posing next to it.
Ah,
Um
okay.
but yeah, I love those vintage bikes. They just look so cool and it's
Yeah.
got everything's like chromed out on it and it looks really cool.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations. That's very fun.
Thank you.
All right, I want to talk about business stuff a little bit. So there's the part of being a business owner that everybody sees, which is the I do this cool thing and I get paid to do this cool thing, right? And then there's the other part of being a business owner that nobody sees, which is
Mhm.
the bookkeeping and the accounting and the advertising and the marketing and the figuring out how to protect your legal butt and all of that kind of stuff. Are you doing, are you wearing all of those hats or do you have
Yeah.
support from family?
I'm doing all of those things right now. I did just get a bookkeeper to kind of help like put my expenses like where they need to go, so I don't have to do that side of it.
Okay.
But I do like I write invoices now. I got a whole QuickBooks account set up, and I'm slowly learning how to use that. Figuring out how to do invoices and um, I got my parents helped a lot with it, but figuring out all the insurance and everything like that, it was definitely a process and it's very
Yeah.
stressful being so young and like having all these responsibilities and like even like I get messages all the time too, so I have to do all my marketing, all my advertising, like it's a lot to take on,
Yeah.
but I try to manage it the best that I can, but
Yeah. Well, I want to validate, like, it's a lot no matter how old you are. Like,
yeah.
whether you're 18 or whether you're 50, starting a business, running a business, it's a lot. Like, there's a
Yeah.
lot involved, especially when you're doing it all yourself. So, I want to validate that. It's very impressive that you're doing all of it. Is there is there anything that has been particularly surprising to you or that you've been like, wow, I did not expect this to be part of what being a business owner looked like, and this really sucks, or just that was really surprising to you?
Um Not necessarily.
Okay.
Definitely all like the bookkeeping part was pretty confusing at first, and I still have to do my taxes for this year. But it was definitely overwhelming at first, and it still kind of is. But I'm just hanging on, I guess, trying to make it through.
Yeah. How do you maintain whatever balance you do have?
I don't know. Just kind of just try to remember it all, I guess. I mean, I try to market everything as well. Like, it's honestly way harder than I thought to like make Instagram videos all the time and like
Right?
grow your like brand. And it's just like I'll do a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm like, wow, I didn't video any of that. Like, I need more content for my social media and stuff like that. But it's way harder than I thought it was going to be because like you're just in the zone and trying to just get stuff done, and then you're like,
Yeah.
wow, now I have no content for all this work I just did.
I am that same person. I do that too. I'll spend like 3 days in the shop with my head down and then be like, I didn't take a single photo or video.
Yeah.
And we live in a world where if it didn't happen on Instagram or TikTok, it didn't happen, right?
Yeah, then you didn't do it.
You didn't do it. Apparently, I was doing nothing for those 3 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's challenging. It like I think it's easy to look at social media, and I think a lot of young people particularly and older people are it's easy to fall into the trap of looking at social media and
Mhm.
seeing everybody doing the damn thing and thinking, "Oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me." Because
Yeah.
I'm not doing X, Y, and Z. And like it is never what it looks like online. And it is way harder than it looks to
Yeah.
do all of the things, to do the work, to do the social media, to do the
Yeah.
everything. It's a lot. It's
Yeah.
a lot.
I
You're
know.
doing a great job. You really
I've
are.
been thinking about once I get a little bigger, I'm gonna hire someone to do all my marketing for me.
It's not a bad idea, right? We hire people to do the things that we don't want to do, right?
Yeah, take videos and stuff like that, and then I'll
Yeah.
post them.
I love it. Do you see yourself grow in the business to where you have more trades folks as well, like other people painting and doing the work with you, or do you plan on staying like the main artist in the company?
I think I'll definitely stay the main artist because, I mean, anyone who can already do this kind of stuff is doing it for themselves. But I think in the future I will hire someone to come help sand and maybe someone who wants to apprentice and kind of learn more about it. But
Okay.
it's not really a job that you can say, all right, go paint this bike because it's not
Right.
going to turn out how I would have done it.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just, yeah. So I'm kind of stuck.
Yeah. It's an interesting business because it's really that you're an artist, right? It just happens
Hmm.
to be that your medium has an engine and wheels often, right? but
Yeah.
but you're an artist and that's a very unique thing.
Yeah, definitely. I never pictured myself being an artist, I guess, but
It
I always picture myself in the trades, but I guess it technically is a trade, but
is.
it's more
Absolutely.
art than anything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it is very much an industrial art, right? But it is an art nonetheless.
yeah.
How do you do most of your marketing? Is it mostly through social media or is it word of mouth?
When I was kind of starting out, I would go around to shops and like I had my mom made like this picture booklet of like a bunch of my work and stuff like that, and I'll just
Nice.
go to different shops and like bike shops in the area and get my name out there. And I actually went to the Harley dealership a couple months ago when I started out, and I was just like, hey, like I'm Keaton, here's my business, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to get my name out there. And now I'm actually painting one of their brand new bikes
Amazing.
next week. So
Oh,
just
wow.
making that connection a couple months ago, like they all know me now. And like every time I go in there, they're like, Keaton. It's just, it's crazy how many connections you can make just by going around and like introducing yourself to people. But
Yeah.
I've definitely been trying to promote myself more on social media now. And now that I've done that, I mean, I've gained quite a few followers on Instagram so far. And now I'm starting to get jobs that are getting shipped to me. So
Oh, wow.
definitely trying to grow that more because that would be a huge deal. People shipping in because you can take your bike parts off and
Yeah.
just ship them. So
Interesting.
yeah.
When you went into your first dealership, Harley dealership or bike shop with your little book of stuff, was it scary at all, or were you totally fearless and like, I'm just going to march right in there to show them what I got?
I was a little nervous, but I was like, I walked right in. I saw a group of ladies at the front desk. I was like, all right, I got this. Walked up there and they were all super cool and nice. And then they were like calling the managers over and they were like, you got to look at this. Like, she's a little badass. And they were just, and then they introduced me to like everyone there. And then they had an event like a couple weeks later and they're like, you need to set up here. And so I set up a little booth and
Oh, nice.
yeah.
I'm so impressed with how supportive everybody has been, and it's so cool to hear, but I also think it's in large part to how you present yourself and how you carry and walk in just with you have a very great confidence about you, but also great humility at the same time. And I think that's a beautiful thing. It's just it's really cool to see how many opportunities have come your way as a result of your willingness to just put yourself out there fearlessly.
Yeah, definitely.
I love it.
It's been crazy how much support I've gained, but I was not expecting that at all. I was like, this is gonna take a while to grow, but it's been taking off pretty quickly.
Very cool. Any advice or thoughts about being a business owner that you would share with other young people who are thinking about going into business? Any regrets? Any things you wished you'd known sooner, that you prepared for differently? Anything that you can share?
Um, I would honestly just say to jump right in it, especially if you're young, because I mean, if you have your parents who can support you, then you really have nothing else to lose. Like, if it fails, you can just go get a job somewhere else, you know? So, I don't know. I would just go for it because it's way easier to go for it when you're young and you don't have a bunch of overhead rather than when you're 25 renting a house somewhere and you got all these payments you have to make and stuff like that.
Yeah. 25, so old.
Yeah.
I
30,
am feeling
40.
I know I'm feeling so old talking to you. I'm not gonna lie. But you also make me really hopeful for the future, because you're so well composed and so insightful, and um, the experiences that you're having gives me definitely hope for the future of our industry, and that maybe it will eventually become more normal to see women in this field for sure. I
Yeah.
think right now we're kind of in this interesting time period where like it's actually got like a little bit of benefit being a woman in the industry. Like there's enough crap that comes along with being a woman in this industry, that's for sure. Um but there's a little bit of a benefit where people are like, "Oh, that's really cool," right? Like they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, there's a girl, you got to see what she's doing," right?
Yeah.
Versus when I was coming up, it was like, oh my God, there's a girl here who thinks she's going to be a mechanic. And they would laugh at that rather than
Yeah,
cheer it on. So
definitely.
progress.
Yeah, right.
What has been your favorite project to date?
I don't know. I think that fridge that I did was pretty fun. Um, I really like the bikes a lot, but I'm really picky about like everything I paint. So like in the end, I practically like hate everything, and I can pick it apart, and I'm just like, this sucks. But then the customer's like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. It makes me
Yep.
feel a little bit better about it. But once the end result finally comes around, I start to like it. But
Definitely an artist speaking. Yep. We can always point out all of our mistakes, all of our everything,
yeah,
and everybody else thinks it's awesome. 100%.
yeah, exactly.
Any dream projects, things that you would love to have the opportunity to do?
I don't really think I have any dream projects as of right now. I
Okay.
think I definitely have been wanting to do like a lowrider car roof
Ooh,
and like
okay.
hood. Like a lot of people get like custom stuff on those, but it's not really a big lowrider scene here in North Idaho. So
Do you see yourself staying there or moving somewhere else at some point?
yeah, most likely I'll probably stay here. But I guess you really never know what the future could bring if there's a different opportunity somewhere else and it's a no-brainer to take, then I would probably pack up and leave.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like people are already willing to ship you stuff, so there's always that
Mm-hmm.
like you can kind of bring it to
Yeah.
you
Mm-hmm.
regardless of where you're at.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with like what I'm trying to stick more towards, like super easy to ship bike parts, like I said.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. I'm so inspired by you. Okay, so outside of business, outside of work, we know that you are always a maker and always a little bit of a crafter. Do you have time for anything else outside of work at this point, or is it all
No.
no?
I usually like in the winters I'll go snowboard and stuff like that, but we haven't really had a great winter here anyways, so I've just been kind of at the shop like practically 7 days a week. For like the past month, I was there almost every single day, and I was trying to get these 2 bikes done to bring to this bike show that I just went to last weekend. But I was trying to get them all done, so I was kind of in a time crunch. So I was at the shop from like 7 to 8 till like 11 o'clock at night, like for 7 days. It was
Oh
a
my gosh.
lot, but I made all the deadlines I was trying to make. So
That's awesome. Nothing like a
I'm
good
sure
deadline.
I'm sure in the summer I'll probably ease up a little bit and go hang out at our lake house and stuff like that, but
Okay.
we'll see. See how busy I get.
Yeah, unless there's more deadlines.
Yeah. Which there probably will be because I'm really bad about overbooking myself sometimes. So
That's got to be challenging though with scheduling because it is such an artistic process
it
and
is.
you don't necessarily know what how long it's gonna take. How do you handle that? Like how long does the projects generally take you? Is there a way to estimate that or gauge that?
Kinda. If it's a bike that's pretty big, I usually like give people a wider range of time just in case. Because I mean, with paint, like you never know what kind of issues you can run into. Like it's so finicky sometimes, and like it's really hard to get perfect every single time. Like almost every time you'll have to redo something or fix something. But
And you're
it's
doing like
definitely
multiple layers of stuff, right? I mean, it's like
yeah,
how many, I mean, we think about like on collision repair or painting, you talked about like scuff and sprays, scuff and shoots, we're dealing with a couple of coats, right? You've got your
yeah.
sealer, your base, your clear. How many layers of stuff are you sometimes dealing with for your complicated, like real complicated jobs?
Quite a bit. So I usually start everything with, depends on what the paint job is, but most of the time I'll start with like a metal flaked base, and then you
Okay.
have to clear coat over that, and then because it's like 80 grit sandpaper, so you got to clear over that, get it all buried, and then you sand it all, and then I lay all my graphics down, um, all my paint, all my different shadows and stuff like that, and then I clear coat it again, and then I sand it all, do all my pinstriping, all my gold, silver leaf, whatever I do, clear coat it, sand it, and then sometimes I'll sand it down again and clear coat it again because those lines are so like thick. Like you have to clear it again because it just takes forever to wet sand and polish it out because with the
Interesting.
different paint layers and they
Yeah.
just build up and it's hard to like because you want it to all be smooth.
Yeah.
So a
Interesting.
lot of layers. It
A
definitely
lot of
breaks
layers.
all the rules for painting, but
Right. But it comes out amazing. But that makes it even more challenging, right? To your point, like paint is finicky. For those who
yep,
don't know, like paint can be really incredibly sensitive to temperature and to humidity and all of those things. And then you start
yep.
adding all of these different
And
layers.
then
And
you have to
yeah,
get your dry times correct and like if
yeah,
you clear coat something, you can cut it open the next day, but that second layer still needs to dry out. So you got to let it sit again. And then you got to make sure you scuff it again, because a lot of times as that second layer is drying, it kind of fills those sand scratches again, and you need those sand scratches for a mechanical bond. And so there's just a lot of stuff that you have to like always remember to do. Like if you're painting something plastic, you can't forget to adhesion promote it or the paint won't stick. And it's just, there's just a lot to it that you really have to pay attention. And it's not just like, oh, I'm just going to paint it all one day. Like it's a process.
Yeah, patience is important.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because there's like the technical side of it, there's the artistic side of it, and then there's the business side of it, and you're really having to juggle all of those, which is a lot.
Yeah.
That is a lot. So we
Definitely
were
is a
going
lot.
back. I lost track of my question. ADD girl here. Sorry. Of how long projects generally wind up taking you, and how you balance scheduling people and figuring out how that's going to work.
Sometimes it really depends on what it is. I try to get, like, if it's a bike, I try to have it done in 2 weeks. But
Oh, wow.
with what I do, it's something where you're not working on one thing at a time. Like while this bike's drying for 2 days, you're working on another bike.
Yeah.
Or working on something else, So kind of working on 2 different projects, or sometimes 3 at once. So sometimes if I'm doing a helmet, like I'll have that flaked beforehand and then flake the bike and get that stuff to a point to where I can work on the helmet for a day and then go back to the bike and then back to the helmet. It's definitely hard to manage your time. I definitely need to get better at that for sure.
we learn trial by fire, right?
Yeah.
Figuring out as you go. Do you like that you're bouncing back from thing to thing to thing, or like does that work for you? Is that part of the appeal?
Sometimes I like to just focus on one thing, but I mean, if you can't even touch it for a day and it's kind of just out of your mind,
Yeah.
It's nice to kind of bounce back and forth from a project sometimes, though, so you're not just so focused on one thing. But it's definitely not all like glorious painting. You're all the time, it's sanding and all that, and then taping for hours and hours, and then you get maybe 3 hours of painting.
Right.
So the fun part is the shortest part.
100%, right? The prep is always takes twice as long as 3 times as long as the actual painting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, I just looked at the time, getting close to the end of our hour already, because it happens. It goes so fast, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it's funny. I normally ask this question at the end, my favorite question to ask, but you are the younger version of you. Like I always ask what your advice is to the younger version of you, and you're still a baby.
I know.
So I guess my question to you is, and if it is the younger version of you, little baby Keaton, or to another little girl like you out there who's seeing you on social media and looking up to you and thinking, oh my gosh, this is the coolest chick in the world. I want to be like her when I grow up. What are your pieces of advice and wisdom for her?
If you want something, honestly, you just got to go for it, and don't be afraid to ask other people for help, because 9 times out of 10, someone who's already doing it is more than willing to help you. And if you show that you're dedicated towards something and that you want it, then people will help you and support you. And yeah, just pretty much go for it. You have nothing else to lose.
I love it. Putting yourself out there. So much of consistency through your story is just like the willingness to put yourself out there, the willingness to ask, and the kindness of people. When you do that with coming from a genuine place, I think has just been definitely a consistent theme through your story, and it's showing in all of your success, all of your hard work. Seriously, guys, go check her out. Her artwork is phenomenal. I hope your business continues to grow by leaps and bounds. Guys, crazy.k.customs on Instagram, or crazy K customs without the periods on TikTok. I'll have all of those links down in the description below. Check out her work, show her some love, show her some support. Thank you so very much, Keaton. I really appreciate you
Yeah,
being
thank
willing to
you.
jump on here and share your story with us.
Of course.
And thank you guys at home. You guys have all been fantastic. I appreciate you being a part of this journey. I hope you guys enjoyed meeting Keaton as much as I did. Make sure you come back next week. We have another awesome tradeswoman for you to meet. And of course, every Monday, we do an archive episode release live. So Monday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, or whenever you want, you can watch replays on YouTube or on Facebook. Also, you can listen anywhere you get your podcasts. And of course, the more likes, the more comments, the more shares, the more people get to hear and learn about these incredible women all over the country, kicking butt in various different industrial trades, and really starting to change the way things are with women being a minority, really starting to make a difference in seeing more and more women and normalizing women in the trade. So thank you guys for being part of that, for supporting these women. And a big thank you to DriveTime for all of the work that they do behind the scenes to support women in the trades. Make sure you go check them out as well. And for now, I will bid you guys a good night. Be good to yourselves, be good to one another, and we'll see you next week.